everybody, and welcome to the exciting event of Cizzles, the only place to ingest the latest in technology for higher education and related services. Tonight, I would like to introduce our guest chef this evening, Dr. Richard Carter. Dr. Carter is an assistant professor at the University of Wyoming working in special education. And with him tonight is Dr. Ling Chong from the University of Kansas and a key member of the Cizzles staff. Welcome, everybody. How are you tonight?
Doing well. Hope you are.
Yeah. Great.
Okay, so tell us what you're cooking up tonight.
So I'll jump into that. First, want to thank some individuals, you mainly. Well, Christine, just amazing to get this going. Really even start with the title. I'd love to say that I had that much creativity in my life. I do not. So we'll be cooking tonight noodles a la Carter. And the idea behind it is mainly something that you can do very quickly. We're going to go over tonight as part of the technology, a voice user interface skill that we developed during the, kind of right in the throes of the pandemic to deliver or to, support families who are now being teachers in their, in their own homes and own kitchens. And so we designed something that that individuals could access information and do it in times like when they're cooking. So just do it in times where it is free and available to them.
So I see your Alexa is there. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, so we're doing that. I'm going to not use that name as much because we don't want her talking until it's time for her to talk. And so, so voice user interface, we as EXA, as we like to call it, and then Google Assistant as well, Siri, and then Samsung's Bixby. These are kind of the popular ones right now. We really wanted to investigate how we could use these tools to get into homes because one, they are prevalent in homes. We 100 million units a year sold by Amazon last year, and so they're becoming more and more prevalent. And it's something that individuals, if they own them, they really love them. They use them for all kinds of things. And so how can we leverage what families are using in their homes right now to deliver services, especially in that time of crisis, which was last year?
Great. This sounds great. I'm excited about the possibilities that this will provide.
She's on fire.
I know.
Good. She's
I'm
good.
just so excited because I'm here to eat. So
Yeah. Speaking of on fire, Dr. Chong,
have a home days.
yes,
So
there
just
you
in
go.
case,
That is
so.
your first. If I'm on fire, get me. If there's time left, get the food. So we'll all have fun with this.
So
for sure.
don't be afraid, guys. I'm here. Yes, I was under control.
Good to know. Great.
Yeah.
All right.
So-
Well, let us know when you're ready to get started.
Certainly, here's what we're going to do. The skill that we are going to go through is developed off of a high leverage practice, effective feedback. All right. So what we've done is converted it into a voice user interface skill that you go back and forth with. The entire skill, even though there's a menu, if you do the entire skill, it's 12 minutes and 45 seconds long. So my challenge that Dr. Zhang has issued is that I need to prepare a meal in 12 minutes and 45 seconds. It has to be done by the time the skill is through. You will see the skill on this screen. You will hear me interacting with the skill. And if everything turns out, you will see a meal in a moment it is over. So ready to go.
Okay.
All right.
Go ahead.
So Alexa, open effective feedback.
Welcome to the Effective Feedback skill for families. In this skill, you will have the opportunity to learn about how to use effective feedback to best support learning at home. Given nationwide school closures, I know that there may be some uncertainty regarding your students' education. Effective feedback is a strategy that teachers utilize to support learners to reach their academic and behavioral goals. This is a strategy that you can also easily use at home. Please use the menu to tell me where you would like to go in this skill. Note that you can return to the menu at any time by saying, "Alexa, take me to the main menu." Now, would you like number 1, to hear a brief overview of effective feedback? Number 2, to learn the definition of effective feedback? Number 3, to review the components of effective feedback? Number 4, to hear an example of effective feedback? Or number 5, to walk through the entire skill of effective feedback?
Number 5.
Great. Let's get started. Though we will discuss feedback in terms of student learning, the concept of feedback is seen in everyday life. For example, a coach gives a player feedback when she gives specific instruction on how the player can improve his jump shot. In regards to education, the CIDDL Center and the Council for Exceptional Children's High Leverage Practices define effective feedback as information that is provided to learners to improve academic, social, or behavioral performance. The learner will use this information to improve motivation, engagement, and independence. If feedback is done correctly, students will use this information to make adjustments to their learning, including determining what they need to learn to be successful moving forward. Now, please take a second to reflect on what you have just heard. Please think about how you currently give feedback to your children, family members, co-workers, and friends. Say Alexa ready when you are prepared to proceed.
Alexa, ready.
You just learned about the definition of effective feedback. Now let's discuss how to make feedback the most impactful. The most powerful feedback is tied to learner goals. When learners receive feedback that is related to ongoing goals, they can gauge their progress toward them. This has the potential to increase motivation for learning. Another key element of feedback is when the feedback is delivered to the learner. To be more specific, feedback should be delivered as soon as the learner has given a response. This ensures that the learner knows exactly what they are receiving feedback on. This feedback can be verbal, written, or in gesture form. This will depend greatly on the location of the learning, as well as how the learner prefers to receive feedback. We are going to learn more aspects of delivering effective feedback, but first I would like to ask you a question. Ready?
Ready.
When is the best time to deliver feedback to the learner? I will give 3 choices. Is it number 1, in the morning before learning begins? Or number 2, immediately after the learner has given a response? Or number 3, at the end of the day?
Number 2.
Very good. Number 2 is correct. The learner will see the most value in feedback that is received right after they respond. Your answer shows that you are making connections with providing feedback to learners. Let's learn more about feedback. Ready?
Ready.
To increase the meaningfulness of feedback to the learner, feedback should be connected to the learning. For instance, feedback should be based on a particular learning task that the learner is engaged in. This allows learners to know why they are receiving feedback. Additionally, feedback should be genuine. The learner will benefit from received feedback that they feel is thoughtful and stated in a way that gives the learner guidance moving forward. Yet another key attribute of feedback is matching the level of student need. Providing too much feedback will not allow the learner to demonstrate their learning, while too little feedback may lead to frustration. Let us take a minute to think about what we have heard. Earlier, I asked you how you currently give feedback. Please, take a minute and think about if your thoughts about feedback have changed and if you think you will provide feedback differently in the future. When you would like to proceed, just say Alexa ready.
Alexa, ready.
Thank you for taking the time to reflect on what you have heard. Let us take what you have heard and break it down into 4 components of effective feedback. First, effective feedback is goal-directed. Second, effective feedback is constructive. Third, effective feedback is immediate. And fourth, effective feedback is respectful and positive. Are you ready to further break down these components?
Yes.
Great choice. We will break down the components further. You will recognize how they fit together from the previous information that was given. All of these components work together to make feedback meaningful. Are you ready to further explore components of feedback?
I am ready. Ready.
Great choice. We will break down the components further. You will recognize how they fit together from the previous information that was given. All of these components work together to make feedback meaningful. Are you ready to further explore components of feedback?
Yes.
All right. The first component of effective feedback is goal-directed. This means that learners understand their goals. It is important to remember that goals can be directed to academic or behavioral outcomes. Once the learner understands their goals, provide feedback that guides them to successfully completing those goals. It is important to note that goals do not necessarily have to be long-term. Small, short-term goals are applicable as well. For example, maybe your student is learning to wash his hands and his goal is to wash with soap for at least 20 full seconds. Take a moment and think how you will know that the learner understands the goal. Also, think about how you will provide feedback related to that goal. Just say ready when you would like to move on by saying Alexa ready.
Ready. Alexa, ready.
Great. Ensuring that the learner is aware of their goals is crucial to feedback. Taking the time to ask the learner questions about their goal will give insight into if the learner understands the goal and sees the goal as something that she or he can achieve. It is also important to know that goals can and will change. Discussing how these changes impact goals with the learner is important to keep the student motivated and engaged in learning. Let us discuss one more component and then we can take a break. Ready to move on?
Ready.
Perfect. The second component of effective feedback is that the feedback is constructive. This means that feedback should support students as they work toward their goals and master new skills. Constructive feedback means that you do not simply give the answer. Instead, constructive feedback gives steps that guide the learner toward mastery of a new skill. To be more specific, when providing constructive feedback, include information that will help learners identify their mistakes and clear steps to fix it. I recognize that we have covered a lot of information and you might be ready to stop for now. Please tell me if you would like to take a break, or if you would like to keep going.
Take a break.
Very good. Thank you for covering so much material with me already. When you return, be sure to say, Alexa, take me back. This will take you back to where we have left off. Enjoy your break.
Alexa, what is the smoke point of olive oil?
Olive oil smokes at different temperatures depending on how it is processed. For example, the smoke point for extra virgin olive oil is 374 degrees Fahrenheit, for virgin olive oil is 419 degrees Fahrenheit, and for refined olive oil is 437 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah, just keep that handy. Okay. Alexa, open effective feedback.
Welcome to the effective feedback skill for
Alexa,
families.
take me back.
So glad to have you back. Let's keep going from where we left off. Just a quick reminder. We already discussed 2 of the 4 components of effective feedback. The first component is goal-directed, meaning feedback is linked to a student's goals, and second, effective feedback is constructive. This means feedback guides a student to the mastery of a skill. Do you want to review these components again or move on to component 3?
Move on.
Component 3 is effective feedback is immediate. This means that feedback should be given as quickly as possible after the student performs the task or behavior. If feedback is received by the learner as soon as the task is complete or the behavior is observed, the learner can adjust immediately. Further, this ensures that the learner knows why they are receiving feedback. Yet another benefit of immediate feedback is that it reduces the opportunities for students to practice incorrect actions. Are you ready to learn about the 4th and final component?
Yes.
The last component of effective feedback is that feedback should be respectful and positive. Feedback that is respectful and positive focuses on the learner's strengths instead of weaknesses. This does not mean that mistakes should not be pointed out. In fact, the opposite is true. However, feedback that is stated positively and free of judgment will help learners correct errors and apply new learning as they work toward their goals. Now that you have heard all of the components of effective feedback, let's listen to an example of a mother working with her child at home on a math problem. Are you ready?
Ready.
See if you can hear all 4 components in the example.
I like how you're showing your work here, Willem. Now, how would you solve 96 plus 7?
Put the numbers in an addition problem.
Very good. That is certainly one way to solve the problem. Why don't you do it and tell me what you get?
Okay. I got 643.
Does that make sense? Could 96 plus only 7 equal 643?
No, that doesn't make very much sense.
Can you show me how you got this answer?
Okay, I added 6 plus 7, which equals 13. I put the 3 in the 10th column and carried the 1.
Looks like all the right steps so far.
Then I did 7 and 9, which equals 63. Then I added the carried 1 and got 64. I put the number below and got 643.
I'm impressed with how well you shared your steps with me, and I can see exactly what you did to get 643. It looks to me like you are multiplying on the second part of the problem, though, with 7 times 9. But remember that this problem is an addition problem.
Oh, whoops! I switched to multiplication halfway through the problem.
I'm glad you see your mistake. Can you try again and this time add instead of multiply?
Okay. So the answer is 103?
That is exactly right. I'm impressed with how easily you made this correction, Willem. Now, should we try the next one?
Yeah.
Very good. Let's reflect on this example. Were you able to pinpoint the 4 feedback components? Did you hear this mother identify the goal when she asked her son to complete the addition problem? While a small goal, this was what this student was trying to accomplish. What about giving constructive feedback? Do you think this mother's feedback guided her son to solve the problem? I noticed that she clearly indicated where her son had made his mistake and directed him to try again by adding instead of multiplying. What about immediate feedback? I think we can agree that this interaction provided specific and immediate feedback as this kiddo was working through the problem. Finally, was this mother respectful and positive? I certainly heard her giving specific praise throughout her interaction. She was genuinely excited to see her son succeed, and although her son was making a mistake, she encouraged him to correct his work, rather than judging or responding negatively about him getting the incorrect answer at first. Now that you have heard an example, I hope you will be able to implement providing effective feedback in your own home. Are you ready to complete the effective feedback skill?
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining me and learning the effective feedback skill. Remember, you can return to this skill anytime by saying, "Alexa, open How Do I Teach?" For more information on this strategy and other ways to support your student at home, please visit highleveragepractices.org.
Done.
They did it. They did it.
All right.
That is so exciting. It's preposterous. That is amazing how you did that together. That was really great. Not only I'm excited for you to talk about your meal, but let's talk a little bit more about the process of what you were trying to do with your technology. And I don't want to say the name.
Yeah. Okay. Here, let's do that. I'm going to mute. So I'm going to mute Alexa, so now we can say it freely. And
Okay.
so, all right.
So tell me, why is this voice interface gaining traction in education? And we can't hear you because now you've muted both you and Alexa.
Okay.
Let's try that now. Okay, that should work now. Okay. So try to unmute Alexa. It looks like the Alexa computer needs to be unmuted. That's what was working. Okay, that's better.
Thank you. Okay.
Sorry about that, but we're live, so this is fun.
Yeah. So, all right. So the idea here is that one, a lot of individuals are starting to explore what is the role of voice, because one, it's becoming more ubiquitous in our daily lives. We have it on our phone. We're setting reminders for ourselves. And then now Alexa has all of the fun things that we can do with it. For instance, we can pursue our interest through it. We can ask for music to play. We can ask them to set reminders. And so any new innovation that comes on board, we're really looking at, all right, how can it apply to these various, to our various disciplines? Education is probably one of the last ones that is coming on board. And there's good reasons for that, which I'm sure we'll chat about here in a moment or two. But the idea is that what is the power of voice? What is the ability to suggest something, to openly search for something using voice, using something that kind of begins to take away those barriers, and how do we maximize it? I think there's a lot of potential there. A lot of groups are starting to jump on board and see what we can do with it.
So can you tell me why not just watch a YouTube video? Why would I be using the Alexa device?
So here's the real power for me in what Alexa can do. A YouTube video, if we think about it, is really going to do something very well for us. It's going to model. right? But what we know about teaching is that modeling is just one very small aspect of it. It's a good place to get started. It's critical, right? We know it's important. But what Alexa can do when programmed can provide enforcement, can provide suggestions. That's not something that YouTube is going to be able to do. So if we think about like an explicit instruction, if we think about Hughes and Archer's work that we know is just so meaningful, a YouTube video will do one aspect of it. We've identified that Alexa can do 14 of the 16 aspects of it, because mainly it's just the talk in between. It's the interaction between a user, being a student, and another individual. Historically, that would be a teacher, right? But in our time of crisis, well, there was no teacher. And so here is a way to think about, well, what might not replace a teacher, but what might be able to support teachers and support families in providing educational, education to the students.
We did get a comment that said maybe we should be careful of how we say it because we might be triggering that device in other people's homes.
Everyone, yeah. Yeah, so our code word for anyone that wants a code word is EXA. EXA works.
EXA.
And so
That will work.
So I will stay with EXA moving forward, but that seems to help us quite a bit. Yeah.
I can see where it's a problem. So tell me, what kind of data can you capture with a voice interface?
Well, it's really fascinating what you can capture. Also, that could be the problem, right? I mean, here's kind of where we're sitting right in the middle of this. Could be a very good thing that everyone benefits from. It also could be the thing that people get really scared about. And I would say there's reasons for both, right? What you can capture through an anonymous user is the amount of time that they are in the skill, the choices that they make within the skill. You can also capture data on if your skill was effective or not. There are many areas, there's many pieces that give you that insight, such as latency, for instance. Latency is the amount of time it takes an individual to respond to a prompt. And so you kind of measure that to look at, all right, is this meeting the skill? Is this meeting the need of your user? Is your user effortlessly moving through this, or is it a challenge? Those are kind of the things that on the user side you can look at. But then also you can use the decisions that the individuals are making to think about how to strengthen potentially content that you are developing for the device. You can also build in variables to really personalize the experience for the user. That is where, though, you are collecting information that is specific to that one user. The variables can be woven throughout your entire skill and really make this something that leads to engaging experiences. However, we don't have the necessary, the work really hasn't been done around the field to determine if that really is a thing that fits in the schools right now. But it will, it's coming. It's just a matter of time. But what we do is, in order to prevent this, we suggest that these are used at home, not in schools right now, until those areas are figured out.
It sounds very challenging. So
I think.
What are some of the next steps for your work?
I think you heard some of the next steps. This was the first skill that we ever made, and really the usability here, it's cool. It's 12 minutes and 45 seconds for some of you all, and please feel free to say it may have felt like an eternity, right? Because there's a lot of readies. There's a lot of kind of prompts that are trying to keep Alexa from talking for 13 straight minutes. However, to increase engagement, what are the different ways that we can bring in breaks in the action that to where individuals can focus? If you do have that variable that you're collecting, you can ask very specific questions that show that the user understood. If you are not doing that, if you're not collecting that user account, for instance, then you're not going to know. You'll know what was answered, but you won't know how it applies to that particular user. As we move forward in that, and as we move forward in this, we'll be able to collect those data, speak specifically to that student, and kind of be able to stack that student's progression as they move through the content. So that's next work. Usability, definitely. I mean, what makes this good? 12 minutes and 45 seconds. Is that enough to be, do I have the concept after that 12:45? Doubtful. but what is it actually going to take? How do we structure it so to make it more engaging? That's kind of where we're heading with it next.
It is fascinating.
Yeah.
Now, can we switch gears a little bit and have you talk to us about what you actually made?
Yeah, after Dr. Zhang.
No, you explain first, and then I can jump on to add one comment.
Okay, one comment. Okay, so ultimately what we did here was I just tried to find something that was 12 minutes and 45 seconds to take me to make. So the noodles, I knew after consulting with Dr. Zhang here, I knew that noodles, lo mein, would only take 7 to 8 minutes, so we took that. And then I had to go look, all right, I got 10 minutes to really put something in the oven. What vegetables are going to do? Really, summer squash is really the only ones. Bell peppers, those are really the only ones. I'm not necessarily getting a wonderful example here of roasted vegetables. It's just enough to be meaningful in the recipe. The idea here, though, is to what can you do? A family member has that amount of time, right? Okay, so a family member puts some things together, can learn very quick. I boxed it up or jarred it up so it can head out the door as well. It's just thinking of how are we, and especially in this time where we have a lot of catching up to do across all facets of society, how can we be more efficient and learn more at the same time? That was kind of the idea.
I love the idea. Can you hold that up a little bit more so we can see what the finished product looks like?
Sure. Yeah, let's see. So right here we go. So the way I kind of see it, it's more like maybe a better kind of cup of noodles than you're used to with the styrofoam thing.
It looks delicious.
Yeah, well, the recipe is posted with thanks to you, or it should be, and so please use it. Make adjustments and tell me all the things I did wrong. This is not.
No, it looks delicious. Go ahead.
I just got a question from Dr. Basham, and he asked, are you guys going to eat the crazy dishes? I said, of course. I'm super excited for the yummy noodles because Dr. Carter used my favorite soy sauce. So I'm super excited, guys. I'm sorry for you all.
And how is it a crazy dish?
I mean, it's a crazy process. I know.
Perfectly reasonable. Perfect.
We have one question. Can you make it without the veggies and make the noodles and add maybe something else? I could see if it was me, I would saute some shrimp and add the shrimp in there.
Dr. Jean,
I love the idea.
Tell her why we did not do that.
Oh, because it would burn, so it would got a lot of smoke. So
we practiced, and when I did it, you couldn't see anything in this kitchen. It was terrible. So that's why we have the fire extinguisher.
Yeah, that's a good point. And that would not have done well on video. But I'm glad you had the fire extinguisher.
I'm glad you use it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think you've passed the test.
Yeah, very nice.
Can you tell us, do you think that you met the viewers' ratings for connection, preparation, and aesthetics? So this is your time to give a pitch to our viewers of why they should rate you highly. Connection is between your recipe and the technology. Preparation is how you integrated the technology in the preparation process. And aesthetic is connecting the aesthetics of the final dish to the technology. So here's your chance to tell everyone why they should rate you highly.
You know, I'm going to say that probably 1 and 2, I'm good. 3, maybe not. But we try new things. And this is amongst friends, amongst individuals who are critical, but critical to the best degree. We think about, let's try new things and let's see how this looks. Ultimately, is the tech something that one can do tomorrow? Yes, absolutely. It's something you can do. Can you cook tomorrow? Yes. All these things are present. As we weave in, let's say that maybe I get another shot at this. I'll come back and I will definitely try hard again. It's been great.
You're more than welcome to come back. This was very fun. And is there anything else you'd like to tell our viewers about your technology or your recipe?
Okay, I'm going to do this quickly. Sorry, y'all. Thank Dr. Zhang, So-Yun Yang from Fort Hays State. I want to do Tiffany Hunt, University of Wyoming. Christopher Emmerling, University of Illinois, Chicago. Tessie Bailey, Progress Center. Lois Kimmel, Cedar Center. And Amy Colpo, Cedar Center. And then also Abby Foley, Cedar Center. I just got to thank those folks. They've all been a part of this. Very meaningful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really am looking forward to see how this develops and how we can use it in our homes. I think that's a great idea. Thank you all for joining us. Please join us next time when Dr. Katie Zimmerman will be cooking up a storm. Pasta la vista, baby. We'll see you next time. For more information on this program and others, please go to CIDDL.org. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. It was a great night. Thank you so much again.